Hi everyone, it is Leslie here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to turn this into this. Okay guys, so to start off with, we have got 12 lengths of 0.4mm weaving wire, so these are fine, and they are about 8 to 10 inches long each. That is more than you're going to need, but I always like to have a little bit extra so I can weave the wire around the frame. And we've got a length of 1.3 mil, which is 16 gauge wire, which is going to make up our back frame. So with this one, we will be shaping it to the stone, and this will also be creating the bail. And we will also be using some half round wire as well to wrap the bail. So to start with, we want to shape the frame to the back of the stone. To do this, I'm going to use my little purple mandrel thing, and I'm just going to find a diameter of this which is a little bit less than the back of the stone, and then I'm just going to hold the wire onto the frame and just shape it around and bring it to a point so it makes that teardrop shape, and then you should see that the stone is a little bit bigger, so we want the wires to sort of come around the back. Once I'm happy with that shape, I'm then going to just shape the bail wires up. So just using my flat nose pliers, I'm just going to bend them up. Like so. So that gives us our back frame. Okay, so we've done videos on how to make back frames before. This one, because it's actually sat on the back of the stone, you don't need to have the extra cages across the back. So the tree is actually going to hold the stone here. If you're interested, this is an avocado agate, which I got from Flintstone Studios. I get a lot of my stone from Flintstone Studios, so if you are loving the stones that I use, or a lot of the stones I use, then go check them out on Instagram. Okay, so we've got our 0.4 weaving wire. These are double length, so if you have 12 wires, you're going to have 24 branches on your tree. So basically, just times it by 2. So you're just going to take the wire, and then you're just going to try and get it about halfway even. And you're just going to wrap around a couple of times. Now this is round wire, and it just makes it a lot easier, so you're not looking at trying to not twist. Half round wire, and we're just going to basically build the base of the pendant with these wires. I'll zoom back out so you can see. I just move them around bit by bit as I'm doing it. So this is one of the reasons I don't weave the bail straight away, because it just allows you to pull your weaving wire up nice and easily. I always start with 12 wires. Whether I put 12 on the tree is always another question. It just depends how well they're sitting. So just work through these. You don't have to sit and watch me do all of these. In fact, what I'll do is I will do these. I'll do one more and then I'll do the rest off camera. You get the idea. You literally just wrap it around a couple of times, straighten it all up, pinch it all together, like so. Okay, so I'll finish these off camera. So when I come back, this will all be done. Okay, so you can see that I have now wrapped all of these around the base, and I have all of these little long straggly bits off the bottom. But before I do any more, I'm going to just make the bail. So we want to do as much on the back frame before we put the stone in, because once the stone's on, we are basically connecting everything together. So I'm just cutting myself a nice length of half round, and I'm going to go around one wire once, pull them both together, and then just go round as you would normally, keeping the half round flat side down so it sits nice. And obviously because we're using a square base wire, it's just going to hopefully sit nice and tidy on here. It is a slightly chunkier wire, but it's obviously much stronger for the back base to be connected to. Sometimes if you start pulling the branches around too much, it can misshape the frame. We've made it quite a long bale. I'm just going to push it all down, give it a good squish. And then with this little tail end that we've got down here, I'm just going to pull it through a couple of times just to secure that end. Making sure that nothing is going to stab anyone if they are wearing it. There we go. So what I want to do before I do anything further is just check where I want the stone to sit. So probably about there. So I'm just going to bend that forward. Then I'm going to get my bell making pliers and just shape that around. Now what you can do, if you've got a gap at the top, what you can do is you can feed those wires through the frame. Now I don't want to do that because what I want is I want the stone to sit flush onto the frame, so you can see that there's no big gaps sitting in the back of there. So what I want to do is bring this in, and I'm actually going to bend these tails out, bring it in, and then I will create a swirl with these once the stone is set. So once I've got the first few branches wrapped, I will endeavour to swell the back wires. But what I am going to do is just to hold them in place, is just take this half round wire and just secure it down so it's not going to keep flapping around and potentially misshaping things. Like so. And then I'll just trim that. There we go. Perfect. So the next stage of making your tree is to start to make the trunk. So we need to position the stone so we can see where the trunk bends. So we also want to make sure that the root system of the tree is reasonably balanced around here as well. So what we might want to do is push it all round a little bit. Excellent. Now some people might sellotape the stone to the frame here. I don't really like to do that because you get residue from the tape stuck to your stone, which is never a nice look. So what we've got is we're going to bend the roots so they come up and around the back, up and around the bottom, sorry, of the stone, and start to shape them to the base of that stone. So they're going to sit around here. Once we've got that, we're going to pinch it all together and we're going to put a couple of twists in. Simple as that. Now we are constantly attacking the camera with all of the wires because there's so many of them. But what we can do now is we can tighten that twist with our pliers. And you can see now where the roots are sitting around the base of the stone. And then what we're going to do is create our branches. So what I tend to do is I don't want the tree to be symmetrical. That is my one rule when I make these. Trees are not symmetrical. I have never seen a symmetrical tree. So I'm going to separate them into two branches. So you've got branch 1 and branch 2. Now you're always going to need to hold your twist, and you can do this with your fingers. I do it with my fingers sometimes, I occasionally do it with my pliers, it depends. My fingers are a little bit dry and sore at the moment, so I'm just getting in there with my pliers. So we basically work our way up the tree, building the branches. And I always kind of break off into twos and then into more. Now because we've got a teardrop cabochon rather than a round one, we want to try and balance the branches as much as we can. And if you are twisting with your pliers, just be careful that you don't over twist, because you will get wires snap off, and then you've got to try and hide ends into the tree. So I'm just going to pop our stone in and see what's going on. So I want to bring that branch down and that branch up. And then what I'll start to do is just form the tree against the stone. So we should now have all of our branches set and ready. And you can see the tree is starting to take shape. So what I'm going to do is all of these wires are now coming round to the back. So what I tend to do is I will connect the first few wires strategically. So we're going to take this first wire and we're going to bring it around the back frame. Put it in. Now what you want to make sure when you're doing this is that you don't pull the frame to the left or to the right, which is why I tend to go, like I say, strategically around. So I'll do one on one side, one on the other, then I can see that it's balanced, and then I will typically make sure the stone is sat straight how I want it. You can start to see why people would put tape on these designs, because they are a little bit fiddly. Okay, so make sure the stone is straight, and then I tend to go one to the top, left and top right, and again it just helps me to make sure I keep it nice and straight. You should be over there. So you can see that the stone is now held in place. Now this makes it all a lot easier, and you can just start to move everything out of the way a little bit, so you can just work on the back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my chain nose pliers. I always wrap these ends 2 to 3 times each, trying to keep them neat and tidy. And of course the end always gets cut to point into the middle of the stone, so it's away from the skin, and that is your first wire connected. And then we're just going to work our way around. Okay, so all of the wires are now connected, and you can see that I have made the 2 ends of the bale wire into this swirl and into these little sort of added extras on the back, so to speak. Now the next stage of making this look more tree-like involves your chain nose pliers, and we're just going to essentially move around the wires and crimp and twist and pull in different directions, so it gives them like that knotty, woody type sort of effect. We'll do the roots first. Be careful not to pinch too hard, because you don't want to snap wires at this stage. That would be quite disappointing, I think. Some people do this before they put the fix the wires onto the stone, but I prefer to do it this way, just because it allows you to see how and where it's sitting on the stone, and how you can make it sort of shape to that stone better. So obviously with the roots you can spread them out a little bit, you can make them look gnarly. Then we're going to grab the trunk and we're going to twist it once one way, once the other way, so it gives it this kicking bend. And then we do the same with the branches. We just pull them into different shapes, so you can see you start to give them all different kinking movements, and then we work our way out to the branches. By this point, because everything is connected, every time you move a wire it just tightens everything up a little bit more, pulls it all a little bit neater, makes it all look a little bit more rustic, and starts to bring the tree to life. The more you can do these sorts of shapes, the better your tree is going to look. And I try not to do too many in the same direction, because it does start to look a bit symmetrical, and I don't want symmetry. So and there, oh, there we have our tree. So you can obviously touch it up as much as you want. Like I said, just be careful that you don't over pull and over squeeze the wires, because that's when you're going to end up snapping a wire. So there we have the finished tree of life pendant on this teardrop shaped cabochon. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Obviously, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to pop them in the comments. If you're going to have a go at this one, let me know how you get on. Let me know what stone you use, and yeah, let me know how the finished piece looks. If you haven't already, then it'd be an absolutely amazing feeling if you would like and subscribe, and then obviously we can start to make more crystal made cabochon wire wrapped jewellery pieces together. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will see you all in the next video, guys. Thanks ever so much. Take care. Bye.